Hi beauties, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because today I'm going to be jumping into part 2 of decluttering my eyeshadow palettes. Y'all, I've been making this a series here on my channel, decluttering out my makeup, and I have really been enjoying doing it, and it's also helping me clean out my collection. It's kind of like a win-win situation. It's content for you guys, and it's decluttering for me. In part 1 of my eyeshadow palette declutter, we did get rid of some of my neutral glam palettes. Today, we're going to be going through all my colorful eyeshadow palettes and some of my big palettes as well from Glam Light and Morphe. As always, if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to my channel and go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. It helps me out a lot and I really do appreciate it. And without further ado, let's dive into part 2 of this eyeshadow palette declutter. Alrighty beauties, this is the drawer that I call my colorful eyeshadow palette drawer. I like to keep my eyeshadow palettes separated from colorful eyeshadow palettes to neutral glam eyeshadow palettes just so it's easier to look through them and figure out which one I want to work with. And then the other drawer that we'll be going through today is bigger eyeshadow palettes such as Glam Light and Morphe. They're just bigger ones and they don't really fit with all of these smaller palettes in here. I can't promise you guys that I'm going to be very good at getting rid of these palettes. These palettes I use on the daily. Like, I love me some colorful eyeshadows. I use them every day. So it is going to be very hard for me to get rid of some of these, but I am going to try my hardest to get rid of some. Here I have a Makeup Revolution palette. This one is the Forever Limitless Neon Heat palette. I just got this baby not too long ago and it is super gorgeous. I love the colors in here. I am going to be keeping this one. Here is the Princess Pigments palette from Lash & Co. I absolutely love this palette. If you can't tell, a couple of the shades in here have hit pan and I absolutely love this, so I am going to keep it to use it on up. Here I have an Ofra palette. This is the Bright Addictions palette. This palette is super beautiful and I just got this one not too long ago as well, so I am going to be keeping it. Here I have the Profusion Love You So Brunch palette. This palette is super beautiful and I love the colors in it. I feel like last time that I used it, I did not like it so much. I am going to be keeping this one to try it out one more time to see if I like it, but if I don't, then I'm just going to be getting rid of it. But this palette is so freaking cute. Here I have the Kesha Rose Hip Dot palette. This palette is absolutely beautiful and one of the most unique packaging I have in my collection. I absolutely love Kesha and I love this palette, so I am going to be keeping it. I promise you guys I am going to get rid of some palettes, but it's very hard for me. Here I have my YChan Cosmetics High Standards palette. I absolutely love this palette, y'all, and I cannot get rid of it. I love it so much, so I am going to be keeping this one as well. I tried to make the lighting a little bit better. I hope it is better for y'all. Now I am going on to this palette. This is the LA Girl Main Stage palette. This is part of the Desert Dream collection. I absolutely love this palette and I have been hitting pan on a couple of the shades, so I'm going to keep on using this baby up. Here I have the Lash & Co. Ice Cream Social palette. This is a super gorgeous, bright, and glittery palette, but this one right here from La Luna Cosmetics is almost the same. I'm going to go ahead and keep the La Luna one because I only have 2 La Luna eyeshadow palettes and I have a lot more Lash & Co. eyeshadow palettes, so I want to go ahead and keep that one and get rid of this one. Here I have the Makeup of Murder Burner Phone palette. This palette is one of the cutest palettes that I own. It is the cutest packaging and the colors in here are beautiful. I am going to be keeping this one. Here I have the Hip Dot X SpongeBob palette. This palette is so gorgeous. I feel like I really don't get enough use out of this, so I am going to put this in the maybe pile. Here I have my Hip Dot X Meatball palette. This palette is absolutely gorgeous. It has glitter in all the color that you need in it. This palette I got not too long ago and I've only used it a few times, so I am going to be keeping this baby. Here is my Bretman Rock X Wet n Wild palette. Y'all, this palette is dirty and gross, but it is old and it is well loved. I will not be getting rid of this just because I love Bretman Rock and I love to keep all of his collabs. I still have his collab with ColourPop as well, so I am going to be keeping this. Here I have the La Luna Cosmetics Cloud 9 palette. This palette is absolutely gorgeous. I just feel like I don't get enough use out of this and I have a lot of these colors in my collection, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this one along. Here I have the Gorman Girl Cosmetics X Ashley Vivacious palette. I absolutely love this palette. I got it not too long ago and I've already hit pan on this shade right here. I'm obsessed. I love this palette so much, and you guys, I do have a code with them now and it is Beauty by Say. You guys can use that for a little bit of money off on their website and you will never be disappointed with their eyeshadows, let me tell you. Moving on, right here I have two more Lash & Co palettes. This is the Lash & Co X Makeup by Shea palette. This palette is absolutely gorgeous, and whenever I need a very beautiful pink and purple look, I always rotate to this one, so I am going to be keeping it. Here I have the Lash & Co Rave Babe palette. I absolutely love this palette as well. This one is so colorful and beautiful. I am going to be keeping this one. I know I'm not doing a very good job at getting rid of palettes in this drawer, but y'all, I did a pretty good job in the last one, so I'm just going to give myself a pat on the back for that and move along. Here we have the Color Fiend So 90s palette. I absolutely love this palette. Again, these colors are so gorgeous. This Goosebump shade right here, y'all, that's to die for. This is so gorgeous. I am going to be keeping it. Here I have my Life's a Drag facelift palette. I just got this baby, and I do have a video reviewing it if you want to check it out. I absolutely love this palette. I absolutely love Lunar Beauty's eyeshadow formulas. They are so gorgeous, and I am obviously going to be keeping this bad boy. Here I have the Makeup Revolution Forever Flawless Birds of Paradise palette. This palette is super, super gorgeous, but I do have that other palette of theirs, so I am going to go ahead and get rid of this one because I feel like some of these colors are in that palette as well. Here I have the Pure X Barbie palette. Y'all, I mostly bought this for the packaging. I'm not gonna lie, it's so stunning, but these colors are super, super beautiful as well. I feel like I don't touch this palette as much, so I am gonna put this in the maybe pile. Moving right along, and y'all, don't judge me again. I know the bottom of these drawers are disgusting. I never clean out my makeup. That is why I am doing this declutter series, because I never clean out my makeup, and I really need to. The next palette that we have here is the Lash & Co Princess Sophia palette. Y'all don't mind the front. My palettes can get a little rough and messy, okay? But they are well loved and used. This is the Princess Sophia palette from Lash & Co, and it is so beautiful. I love the shades in here. I am going to be keeping this baby. Here I have my one and only Dominique Cosmetics palette. This is the Celestial Thunder palette. I absolutely love this palette. I break it out every once in a while, and y'all, I will never not be in love with this palette, especially this shade right here. It is one of my favorite like turquoise blues that I've ever used. I am going to be keeping this baby. Here I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette. Like I said in my last palette declutter, I really do like to keep these Anastasia palettes just for collection purposes. This palette is super pretty though, and I love the fun pops of colors in here. I am going to be keeping it. This one right here is from a brand called Magic. This one is super, super pretty. The glitters in it are gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous, especially this one right here. The eyeshadows for me, though, they were not as pigmented and they did not blend very well, so I am going to be getting rid of this one. Here I have the Profusion Spectrum palette. This palette is super, super beautiful, and I did use it in my drugstore versus high-end makeup, but I am going to be getting rid of this one just because I have so many of these shades in my collections, and I do have eyeshadows that are more pigmented than this. Y'all, we are on to the last and final row. Here I have a palette from Netty Bird Cosmetics. This is the Da Baby palette. Y'all, this palette is so, so gorgeous, but I'm gonna be honest, I probably only touched this palette once, maybe twice. It is super, super pretty. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in the maybe pile and come back to it because I cannot make a decision. Here I have a palette from Smackers. Yes, from Smackers. I did a video on this a while back on TikTok. I just wanted to try it out for fun. It was in the kids section at Walmart in the makeup section. It was so funny. I was like, oh my gosh, Smacker has a eyeshadow palette? Even though they look very, very beautiful, they are not very pigmented at all. I mean, I didn't really expect much for it being Smackers, but I'm going to go ahead and get this one out of the way. Here I have two palettes from Nema Beauty. This is the Dahomey Amazons palette. I use this one a lot. I love this palette. And this one is the Queen Candake palette. I absolutely love this one as well. These eyeshadows are some of the most beautiful eyeshadows I ever have used, and I absolutely love this eyeshadow formula, so I am going to be keeping both of these. Alrighty beauties, here I have the ColourPop X Powerpuff Girls palette. I just got this palette last week. I absolutely have been loving it. I think I've been using it for most of my looks lately. It is absolutely stunning, and I am obviously going to be keeping it. Here I have a palette from Zororo Cosmetics. This palette is literally amazing, and it is so, so beautiful and colorful, but I am going to go ahead and get rid of this one just because I have so many of these colors in my collection already. Here I have a palette from La Luna Cosmetics. This is part of their Alice in Wonderland collection. This palette is absolutely stunning. I have not gotten a ton of use out of it, but I am going to go ahead and keep this one. Here I have a palette from a brand called Dahlia Cosmetics. This palette is absolutely stunning and these shimmer shades are so beautiful, but I do not believe that this brand is around anymore, sadly, so I am going to go ahead and get rid of this one. Here I have the Hip Dot Light Rays palette. This palette is absolutely stunning and I tend to recommend Hip Dot's shimmer shades are absolutely beautiful. They are literally one of a kind, just so stunning, and I am definitely going to be keeping this palette. Here I have another Hip Dot X SpongeBob palette. This one is all glitter. It is super stunning, but I do not get enough use out of this, so I am going to go ahead and get rid of it. Here I have a palette from a brand called New View. This is the Fall in Love palette. This palette is so stunning, and if you watched my last palette declutter, I did get rid of another palette that looks similar to this one. This one is just way more beautiful. It has more pops of colors in it, and it has this really super pretty glitter in it that have these moon glitter flecks in them, and it's just so pretty, so I am going to be keeping this one. Here I have one of the mini Norvina palettes from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This baby is so cute and it has really unique shades in it to me, but it is broken, so I'm just going to go ahead and toss this one. Here I have a really pretty glitter palette from Pixie. This one is super beautiful and it's well loved, obviously, but I have a lot of glitters to go through, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one. Here I have a mini palette from Makeup Revolution. This is the Tropic Pink palette. This palette is super beautiful and I did just get this not too long ago, so I am going to go ahead and keep this one. And last but not least, we have the Lash & Co. 90stalgia palette. This baby is so pretty and they're duochrome and reflectant and just so gorgeous, so I am going to be keeping this. Alrighty beauties, I'm going to go ahead and take this last palette out and then we can go ahead and move on to the other drawer. This is my big eyeshadow palette drawers. This holds all of my eyeshadow palettes that are really huge and take up a lot of space. Most of them are Morphe palettes, but we do have some Gorman Girls in here. We have some A. Billy Cosmetics, some Glam Light. So let's go ahead and go through this baby. Right on top here, we have the A. Billy Cosmetics IJ palette. This palette is absolutely stunning. I got it not too long ago and I have been absolutely in love with it. These formulas are absolutely beautiful. I feel like I don't have a lot of these colors in my collection and this palette is very unique. I absolutely love this, so I am going to be keeping it. Here I have the Morphe X Avani palette. This palette is super beautiful and it has these cake liners here at the bottom. Even though I'm not a huge fan of these, I really do like the eyeshadows in this palette. I use this blue one quite often, so I am going to be keeping this one. Here I have the Gorman Girl Cosmetics X Krista Rice Makeup Spectra palette. This palette is super pretty as well. This color story is super unique. I feel like I don't see this a lot. And these colors are so beautiful and bright. I am going to be keeping this baby. Here I have the You Can Be Fruit Pie Filling palette. This palette is super beautiful, but I feel like I have a lot of these shades already in my collection, so I am going to go ahead and get rid of this one. Here we have the Glam Light Burger palette. This palette is so beautiful, y'all. Glam Light's eyeshadows are so pretty, and I honestly don't know why I don't touch these palettes enough. I am really going to make it my mission to play around with this palette more because I am never going to be able to get rid of this. Look at this palette. Here I have the Glam Light Pizza palette, the original, what started it all. It is so beautiful. This palette is huge though, and I feel like I have all these colors in my other Glam Light palette, so I am going to go ahead and get rid of this one. Moving on, here I have two more Glam Light palettes. I have the Viva Taco palette and I have the Street Taco palette. Both of these palettes are super gorgeous and I absolutely love them, so I am going to be keeping them. Here I have the Cosmetic Connect palette. This brand blocked me on Instagram. I said that in my last declutter. There is no reason for me to keep this, so I am going to go ahead and get rid of it. Here I have a newer palette from Lash & Co. This is the Unicorn Dreams palette. This palette is so bright and beautiful and glittery. I absolutely love this palette. I am going to be keeping it. And then here I have my Shut Up and Slay a Reload palette. This palette is so pretty, and I don't think I'll ever be able to get rid of this one, so I am obviously going to be keeping it. All the palettes left in this drawer are Morphe palettes. Some of them I have had for literal years, so I am going to go ahead and go through these. Hopefully we can get rid of some of them. The first one here is the Live With Love palette. This is the most recent palette that I bought from Morphe. This is part of their Pride collection with the Trevor Project. This palette is absolutely beautiful and I love the colors in here. I am going to be keeping this one. Here I have the Morphe 24A Artist Pass palette. This palette is super beautiful and I love all the fun glittery shades in here. Even though I feel like I don't really use this one enough, I am going to go ahead and keep this one and see if I can get more use out of it. Here I have the Morphe Jeffree Star palette. This palette is super, super pretty and super, super vibrant. I just do not use it anymore, so I am going to go ahead and get rid of this one. Here I have a really old Morphe palette. This is the 3502 palette. This palette is super, super pretty, and honestly, I don't even think I barely touched this palette, so this one is going to find a new home that can get a lot more use out of it. I have the first big Jaclyn Hill palette with Morphe. This palette is so, so beautiful, and it's super, super old. And this palette is definitely out of date, but I am going to keep it just for sentimental reasons. Here I have the Morphe X Nikita Dragon palette. This palette is super, super pretty. I feel like I haven't got enough use out of it, honestly. But nonetheless, all the shades in here are super, super beautiful, and they are so vibrant, so I am going to keep this baby. Here I have the Morphe 24G palette. This palette is so old, y'all. It is definitely out of date. I am definitely going to go ahead and get rid of this one. Here I have the 39A Dare to Create palette. This palette is so, so stunned. I feel like I definitely didn't get enough use out of this at all. The shades in this are super, super pretty, and I think this was like a Christmas edition. I'm not really sure. Nonetheless, this is super beautiful, but it's old, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. Last but not least, we have the Morphe James Charles palette. I obviously do not use this palette anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one as well. That is all my palettes gone through. Let's go ahead and organize these drawers. Alrighty, beauties. These are all the palettes that I am getting rid of. I feel like I honestly did a pretty good job, and I'm pretty proud of myself. These 3 palettes were the 3 palettes that I put in my maybe pile, and I have decided to keep these 2 and to go ahead and get rid of the Pure X Barbie one. Even though this palette's packaging is so super cute, I really don't use it enough, so I need to go ahead and just get rid of it. Here is that first drawer. I am super excited with the process. Oh my gosh, you guys, it is all clean and nicely organized, and there is plenty more room to grow in there. And here is the other drawer. This is the big palette drawer, and y'all, there is plenty of room to grow in here. I don't have to worry about running out of room in here for a very long time, and I am super excited about that. I hope you beauties enjoyed this declutter. This is not the end of the declutter series. We still have plenty of my makeup to go through, so you guys don't worry about that. There will be plenty of more to come. Other than that, if you beauties did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and leave me a little pink heart in the comments so that I know that you stayed here till the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, beauties!